Shabbat Shalom Yasharallah. We already put our prayer in. We're about to get started on looking into not just getting to the point of finding the dates for 2023 and 2024, but we're going to review the structure of the calendar. This isn't a full-blown teaching, but it is going to give a solid review over the structure of the calendar to gather more understanding moving forward when we are keeping these feast days so we can move confidently in them. So let's get started. Okay, so 2023 and 2024 feast days dates is what we're going to find by the end of this video. Study outline. We're going to review the calendar structure, but this isn't the full teaching over the calendar structure. This is to review what has already been taught in this video, Path of Righteousness. So if this is your first time hearing about this calendar, you can watch this now, but you need to backdoor it with this study to gather full understanding. Don't message me without watching this study, because that's all I'm going to give to you. If this isn't I get people all the time asking me, can you answer this quick question without looking into the study? There's no such thing as a quick question. If you don't understand the structure of this calendar, it's not going to be quick. You're unlearned. Humble yourself and watch the study. And if you need to, watch it multiple times, just like with this one. Then we're going to go over the appointed times, the structure that the scripture gives us of when each appointed time is, so we know how to fit it into the calendar. The 177 days in Enoch is how I show you how we even moving forward can find each feast day from now to the end of time based off of the 177-day pattern. And then within these patterns, we have the lunar intercalation, the 19-year moon cycle. We're going to cover all of this, and the point of covering all of this is to help each and every one of us gather and understand what we're actually doing and not just doing it blindly. Oh yes, I want to show my 3 resources I'm using. I'm using this website for moon phases, also this website, and time and date for the time references you'll see in this study. Let's do it. Once again, watch Path of Righteousness if you haven't. This is the structure of the calendar. We see right here all 7 feast days, including the Sabbath, which is the entire point of this video. And the thing that it makes it very obvious is that there's no dates. We see the months, Abib, the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, all the way to the 7th month, but we don't have dates because that's not important. My objective is to get you to understand this format. And once you understand this format, you're able to put this on top of any calendar if you understand when to start it and when to count. It's very simple moving forward, which is the only reason why I'm able to give you 2023 and 24's dates before the moon has been sighted, because this is not absolutely only by sight. This is about numbers and patterns that are perfectly lined up with everything else, which is, it's not a coincidence because our creator is perfect. So what will we think anything less with his calendar? So we're starting off, we see right here that the Sabbath is on the 3rd day. Get so many questions on it. Well, we have many witnesses, 4 to 5 witnesses that show us that the Sabbath can be on the 3rd day, and then you count 7 from henceforth. Let's go over it. Like I said, this is just a review. As you can see, we have a pattern when taking the only 3 confirmed dates of the Sabbath. There's, believe it or not, there's only 3 confirmed dates in all of Scripture, including Apocrypha. It's unbelievable, right? But maybe there's a point for that, because after the first couple of months, you won't be able to find the pattern on the 3rd day, because each month can have different amount of days. But with the first 2 months, you can see this pattern of the 3rd day being the 7th day. We have the 17th of Nisan, which is showed in Matthew 28, verse 1. 15th in the 22nd of the 2nd month, which is found in Exodus 16. And they all line up with the 3rd day. This is by no coincidence. This works perfectly with the timing of the very first Sabbath in creation story. Let's review it. We see the creation story. We have 7 days. We have evening and morning was the first day. This is not saying that evening is day. And it's saying that the evening belongs to the following morning, which was the first day. We'll review this with some scripture in a second. But it's important to understand that the evening and the morning belong together. That's how you tell time. I had some issues when I was telling folks about the last new moon festival that was the 10th. And I would have it the new moon here, for example, and people were thinking that the new moon festival was the day before. Guys, the reason for evening and morning is because the evening of the moon, of the timing of the moon, tells us what the morning will become. Doesn't that make sense? If the full moon rises the evening of a Thursday, so let's say this is Thursday, and the night of the evening of Thursday is the full moon. How can the full moon festival be on the day before the sign of the full moon? If the full moon rises Thursday evening, then what day would be a new moon festival? What day? The following day. Because the day before, the evening before, tells us what the day will become. Okay? It can be super tricky. And the problem is we've been taught backwards. We've been taught that, that evening, a day is evening to evening. That's completely wrong. Let's continue with another precept, Exodus 12:2 in the Targum. This month, Nisan or Abib, the very first month of the year, is ordained to be to you the beginning of months. And from it shall begin the number for festivals and times and cycles. It shall be to you the first of the number of the months of the year. It doesn't matter how you slice it. The Sabbath is a festival, times, and a cycle. So no matter what, when we use this precept along with all other precepts, it builds foundation for the Sabbath to be on the 3rd day every year, because it resets to be able to be on the 3rd day. That's what this verse right here is telling us. How is this possible? Every year that the Sabbath is on the 3rd day, it's possible because it resets every year with the times, festivals, and cycles at the beginning of the first month. And I'm just reading right here the caption. The month starts at the beginning of times, which means we go to the day when the moon was created, and we wait for her to give her sign to start the month. And so, as previously stated, this works perfectly with the timing of the very first Sabbath in creation story. Because the very first Sabbath in creation story, when we do this, we have the sun, moon, and stars created during the daytime. But when we go to Genesis 1:16-17, the moon is the inferior light to rule the night. The very first timing for the moon to give her sign to start the month would be during nighttime. A lot of people started during the 4th day. But if you are using the luminaries according with scripture, we wait for the moon to start the month, which would be the night of the 5th, which means day 1 would be the day of the calendar of the very first month would be the 5th day, second would be the 6th day, and then the last day, the Sabbath day, fell on the third day of the month. The same exact pattern that's given throughout all scripture. So when we combine all of them, oh, let me cover this real quick. I thought this was after. So just wanted to show scripture confirming what I was just saying about the evening and the morning go together. They come in pairs, but they're not one and the same. And here's some scripture on it. In Genesis 1, 4, and 5. And Elohim, Ahaya, saw the light, that it was good. And Haya divided the light from the darkness. How can a day be darkness and light when he had divided it? But it also says right here, it gives definitions for light and for day and night. What is the definition? And Haya called light day. A lot of people say there was evening and there was morning, day one. Guys, he's saying that the evening belongs to the morning. But the evening, darkness is night, light is day. He tells you the definition of what day is and what night is. Day is light, night is darkness, and it's divided, and it has been divided from the beginning. From the beginning, before even the completion of day one, he divided it. So after he divided it and he called light day and darkness night, he then goes evening and morning were the first day. And when we study to show thyself approved, we have a precept for this understanding. Enoch 73 verse 3, in her rising and setting change every month. This is talking about the moon. And her days are like the days of the sun. Right there. Evening and morning is saying that whatever day is given to the morning, because the sun is the counter of days, is it not? Do anyone use the moon to count days? No. Moon are for months. What is used to count the days? The sun. The sun counts the days because it ordains during the daytime, during the light. So when it says there was evening and there was morning, he's saying the nighttime with the inferior light of the moon, her days are like the days of the sun. So whatever day the morning is given, the evening before it has the same day. All right? And that's why Messiah himself says, are there not 12 hours in a day? Because he's only counting daytime with light. All right? I hope that helps. So now bringing all this together, full understanding. We have all these witnesses to show us that everything points to a third day Sabbath that starts the calendar. And then from henceforth, we count 7 days. We count 6 and rest the seventh day. The creation story has the Sabbath on the third day of the calendar, and all scriptural context that gives us the seventh day are all on the third day. And that is possible with the reset of the calendar given in Exodus 12:2. How can you tell when it's cloudy? You count. This is what I'm talking about with the 177 days. You have more than one witness to find days. It's not solely just based off of the signs and visuals. It's based off of numbers, counts, which you'll see by the end of this video. All right. So now we're back to the blueprint here. Hopefully you've gathered enough understanding to see how it's possible for the seventh day to be on the third day of the calendar, and then from henceforth, because it's exactly what all scripture gives us. Everything in scripture is possible for it to be on the third day because it is on the third day. And if you watch The Path of Righteousness, I talk about how there is really, I don't even talk about as much as I found. There's a ton of consistent patterns and unison between the number 3 and 7 within the world, within scripture, within the calendar, and by no coincidence, the third day is the 7th day. And like I said, from henceforth, you count 7 days all the way until next spring when we go and we find the month of Abib again. So the Sabbath is the same until next month of Abib. All right, so Sabbath day, check. Now we're going to move on to the rest of the feast days. So the feast days in the moon. Let's now look at into the information we need to place the annual feast days on the correct day. Leviticus 23. We have Passover on the 14th day at evening. We have unleavened bread on the 15th day, starting on the 15th day, and that's for 7 days. We have Feast of Trumpets. Yes, I skipped Shavuot for a reason. I'll cover that in the next slide. But we have Feast of Trumpets on the first day of the 7th month. We have Day of Atonement in verse 32. That starts from evening on the 9th day to evening on the 10th, from evening to evening. The only feast day that's from evening to evening. And that's why it specifies it's from evening to evening, because it's not normal. Everybody that uses evening to evening, they all run to that verse. And it's the only day in all scripture to tell you to go to evening to evening. But we're using it as a blueprint for everything. No, it's an outlier. This is why it's telling us this, because it's an outlier, not because it's for every single day of the year. And lastly, we have Tabernacles, which is on the, well, I forgot to add the 8th day, but once you tabernacle, I mean, the 8th day is just the 8th day after the 7th day of Tabernacles, which is the 15th of the 7th month. So we're just going to be able to put these on the blueprint that we have to give us understanding of each. So let's cover Shavuot. But real quick, before we get there, I want to point out that the only thing that you need to understand to have confirmation to find all of these feast days is the first month of the year and the 7th month of the year. Why? Because the timing for every single feast day is only based off of the 1st and the 7th month. We're not talking about the 4 annual new moon festivals. Those are different. We're talking about Leviticus 23 right now. All right, so all of the Passover unleavened bread, trumpets, and Passover unleavened bread and Shavuot timing is all based off of the 1st month. And then trumpets, Day of Atonement, Tabernacles, and 8th day is all based off of the timing of the 7th month. That's going to be crucial to understand. Let's continue though. So with that understanding, we have the Sabbath day on the 3rd day, count 7 days moving forward. We have Passover, that is the evening of the 14th. And then we have from the 15th for 7 days, unleavened bread. And then we're about to cover Shavuot on how we get Shavuot being in this position. And then we go all the way down at the 7th month. And we have beginning of the 7th month, we have trumpets. 10 days later, Day of Atonement. The 15th day of the month, Sukkot. And then the 8th day is the last day after Sukkot. Right, Liz, I believe the only day that's from evening to evening is a day of humbling yourself and atoning for one's sins. I don't think that's a coincidence at all. And think about it, it's the only so-called feast day that's not even a feast. It's a day of fasting. What are the odds of that? The only day that is not a day of rejoicing It's a day of humbling and fasting yourself. It's the only day that is evening to evening. No coincidences with that at all. So now we're going over first fruits to Pentecost. A lot of people, I don't know who's watching this and when. A lot of people think first fruits that the first fruits that's given in the week of unleavened bread is a feast day, and it's not a feast day. It's not. Feast days are marked by holy convocations, aka Shabbats. Every single feast day is marked by an annual Sabbath. First fruits within the week of unleavened bread is not marked by a Sabbath. It's simply that. It's the first fruits of barley during the week of unleavened bread. That's all it is. Yes, it's a holy event, but it's not a Sabbath. So then we got Pentecost. Pentecost, literally, the word origin of Pentecost is 50. Because Shavuot is the Feast of Weeks and it's 50 days from first fruits. So that's the real purpose for the true timing of first fruits, is that you use the timing of first fruits being day 1, then you count 50 days to find Pentecost and / Shavuot. Because I say that because some people use the 7-day Sabbath as the timing to count for Pentecost, and I don't believe that's correct, because when you go and look into older manuscripts such as the Targum, it says after the first festival day of Pesach, or the day after the feast day of Pesach, on the day on which they elevate the sheaf, you shall make the sacrifice of the lamb of the year, and number to you after the first feast day of Pesach. The first feast day of Pesach is the first day of unleavened bread, the day where they brought up the sheaf, which is first fruits. And then when you go into Septuagint, it even says on the morrow of the first day, the priest shall lift it up, the first fruits, and ye shall number yourselves from the day after the Sabbath. This is talking about after the day of the first day where the priests lift up the first fruits, which is exactly that. That's where you start the number. But people use the 7-day, weekly Sabbath to number it because of the Masoretic, because the Masoretic is very vague. The Masoretic says, and he shall wave the sheep before the Most High and be accepted for you. And on the morrow after the Sabbath, it sounds very general. After the Sabbath, it sounds like the 7th-day Sabbath. But there's a reason why this is one sentence and it's connected. He shall wave the sheep, the sheaf, the first fruits before the Most High to be accepted to you, for you. On the morrow after the Sabbath, this is one event. First fruits and the morrow after the Sabbath is the same event. That's why this is one sentence in verse 11. And another precept, which is given in Numbers 28, verse 16 and 8 through 18. In the 15th day of the month is a festival. 7 days shall unleavened be eaten. On the first day of the festival, a holy convocation, no servile work. Again, I think we get the point. So let's just go back to it. So now looking at this structure, when is first fruits? We have the first day of Pesach, or unleavened bread, which is a Sabbath. And it says the morrow after the Sabbath, which was this point right here, that it's a holy convocation, no servile work. The first day, which is the 15th day of the month, is a Sabbath, which is what they're talking about when they say the first day after the Sabbath, morrow after the Sabbath. So the morrow after the 15th day is the 16th day. When you start from day 1, this is first fruits, and you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way, it brings you to the 65th day of the year. So Shavuot will always be on the 65th day of the year, always be. And now the first or second month could have more or fewer days, but that doesn't change the count. The count doesn't change. And that's what I mean with, you can put this on anything because it doesn't matter how much days are in the Gregorian month. You just line up the days with the days and the count doesn't change. It will always be the 65th day because you count on the 16th day, and when you count 50, it brings you always on the 65th day of the year. That will mark the 50th day, starting from the 16th day of the year, the first day after unleavened bread. Woo! All right, so now that covers all the feast days, the timing of the feast days. Why it makes sense for all of the timing of these feast days. In other words, just why it's on the 14th of evening. We looked at scripture, the timing of Shavuot, and so on. So now we're going to go in more details to these numbers and why they're accurately defined within Enoch and other scripture. All right, so now we're on the 177 days. Because if you look back, we see 177 days is the day before trumpets. And that is the structure that this foundation of this study is built on. The fact of there's 177 days halfway through the lunar calendar year, solar lunar calendar year. If you can count to 177, you can do this calendar. As long as you understand the structure and the timing of the structure. And so if you have the timing right, you have the structure right, and you can count 177 days, you should not be off ever, in a sense. All right, so let's go to the precept of the 177 days. In 3 months, she makes of 30 days. And at her time, she makes 3 months of 29 days each. And in which she accomplishes her waning in the first period of time and in the first portal for 177 days. And then it just says it again. And in the time of her going out, she appears for 3 months, 30 days, and 3 months, 29 days. This is breaking down a year with the using moon phases. There is going to be 6 months of the first half of the year. There's going to be 3 months that has 30 days and 3 months that has 29 days. And when we add them up, 3 months will be 90 days. And then 3 months of 29, oops, I meant to put 30 here. So 3 months of 30 days will give you 90 days. And then 3 months of 29 days will give you 87 days. And the total of 6 months is 177 days, which is where you get this number here, 177 days. They're showing us, Enoch is showing us that every single halfway through a year is going to be the same exact number, 177 days. Don't miss, it won't fail. And I'm going to show you that it won't fail with when we match scripture with the luminaries. So a lunar going by the moon phases, you get 354 days, 10 days less than the 364 days that the solar calendar structures on. And I'm going to put it all together, even though, like I said, a lot of this is review, but I'm going to put it all together. So back to the calendar. I'm going to keep going back because I want you to put it together with scripture. This is perfect. So when we have 177 days, the very last day of the first 6 months is 177. Very straightforward, which means every single year, the 178th day of the year has to be Yom Teruah because it's the first day of the 7th month. Is this making sense? The very first day is the 178th day because there's only 177 days every 6 months. I mean, yeah, every 6 months, 177 days, 3 days, 3 months of 30 days, 3 months of 29 days. All right, so we see, and that's why I have right here, let me say this, family, the structure to find the feast days is possible because of this 177-day pattern ahead of schedule. But I want to clarify, I don't know if it's possible. I've prayed diligently on this. I honestly don't know if it's possible beforehand to identify every single month on which month will be 30 days and which month will be 29 days. At the bottom, I put the days of the month are not always in this pattern of 30, 29, 30, 29, 30, 29. I cannot confirm or deny that. This is just an example to show the end result of 177 days through 6 months. But there still is, it still is 330 days and 329 days. And that's why I'm not going over the new moon festivals, because I can't confirm right now what day would be the 4th month of the year, because as of right now, I am observing it as they come in and picking which moon fits best to my understanding with scripture. But with the 1st and 7th months, we don't have to necessarily know or visualize the new moons, because we can just count 177 days. Just want to throw that disclaimer out there. I can't confirm every single new moon ahead of time, because the numbers of the exact of what how many days are in each month are not given. But the days of the semi-annual are given, and I'm going to show you that they're so perfect with the luminaries. All right, so I hope we have understanding of why of all the numbers that we see here, and why the very first day of Trumpets is 178th day of the year. And then guess what? We count 10 days from here. Day of Atonement, we count 15 days from here. Sukkot, we count 22 days from here, 8th day. So all we need is to know is the 1st month and the 7th month, and we keep counting 177, and we good, baby. All right. How do we calculate the moon? So I'm going to, now we're just breaking down this on a bigger scale. We're just going to go on a bigger scale. So put your thinking caps on. This is where it gets difficult with the intercalation and all of this stuff. It gets difficult for a lot of folks, and rightfully so. This is not simple at all, but study. We have to study. We have to rewatch it. We have to reread over and over again. Don't get overwhelmed if this is your first time seeing this information. Y'all have no idea. I'm telling you, you have no idea how many times I've read Enoch and how many times I've studied this stuff and put together all of these charts. This is a lot of time. I don't expect anyone to know this information off of one sitting when it takes me months, years to put it together. It doesn't work that way. Just like in school, just like in college, you don't sit in class and sit through one lecture and go take the final exam. You don't do that, do you? You read, you study over and over again to prepare for it. This is just one lecture. So how do we calculate the moon? We see, I wanted to bring this up because of this right here. A lot of people would bring up that it's 364 days in a year, and I'm showing you that it's 354. So let's go over it. We see in Enoch 74, and I even use 2 different translations here. So we have the sun and the stars bringing the years exactly. And it's a perfect justice of 364 days. In 3 years, there is 1,092 days. That's very basic math. If you put 364 times 3, this is what you're going to get, okay? But then it says for the moon alone, the days are in 3 years is 1,062. You see, I just showed you that 1 year is going to be 10 days behind 364. So in 3 years, that makes sense for it to be 30 days behind. And that's why when we use this translation, a different translation with a different point of view of the scribe, it says, but that the year, excuse me, goodness, let me start. The moon brings it all the years exactly, that their stations may come neither to forward nor to backwards a single day, but that the years may be changed with correct precision in 364 days. And then it gives the same numbers. It says it needs to be changed. And then when we continue to look, I don't know why this verse, I think this is just saying that we need to start in spring. I don't know why I put this verse here. I don't remember why, but this is just showing that we started spring. Deuteronomy 16:1, in the Targum, we found another precept that tells us there is a change. There is a change to correct precision, to be mindful to keep the time of the festivals with the intercalations of the year, to observe the rotation thereof. And when you look into intercalate, that means to insert a day or a month into the calendar. So if you're not structuring the calendar appropriately, the times of the festivals will be off. This is what we have, 2 precepts agreeing of some type of intercalation of the calendar for the timing to be correct. So when we have the moon, 354 days with the times the years we just read in the scripture, 162. 364 times 3 years, 192. The moon then intercalates. The calendar intercalates when the 13th full moon rises before the spring equinox. This happens at a consistent pattern once every 3 years. And when it does that, it adds 1 month in it. And that's what it means when it says that the years may be changed with correct precision in 364 days. Because after it is changed to correct precision with the intercalation, there is 1,092 days within those 3 years, which will give us exactly what it says the moon and the stars give us, 1,092. And I'm going to show you, like I said, the best way I'm going to explain it is to give you visuals with scripture right here. So let's do it. Just like I said, this intercalation happens once every 3 years, so the calendar will be perfect. Every calendar year is not meant to be 364. This is the confusion. It has to be intercalated. So let me show you one of my charts here. All right, so I'm going to actually blow this up later. This is much bigger. This is a sample size. I had to start somewhere, so I had to start in the year 2000. But right here, the spring equinox is sunrise March 20th. We see, so if you start at the first month of the first timing of the calendar that starts after spring, at least once every 3 years, you're going to get a 13th month, which will make this a perfect precision of a 1,092. It's not always on the 3rd month. It could be different timings, but we see here we have 12, and then we have a 13th month. You can't see the years before this, but I think there was actually 2 years of 12 months. So that would mean that the 2 years prior will now be a perfect justice of 1,092. And then we have 12. And then right here, it comes early. It comes before March 20th. So these 3 right here, these are the 3 years of 1,092. And then it continues. We have 12 months. And then boom, this month, this year we have 13 moons that rises before the spring equinox. This pattern is so consistent, it don't matter how many times you do it. There is going to be one year that's going to be within March 20th that's going to have 13 new moons before spring. And it's going to be once every 3 years, which gives this a perfect meaning with scripture to match the luminaries. Every single time you do it, and like I said, I'm going to show you a bigger scale later of it. This is just a sample size that these are timings of full moons every single month. These are full moon timings. So 13, 12, 13, 12, 12, 13, 12, 12. And when you break them up into threes, there is 113 that goes into every 3 years. Okay, I hope that that makes sense. This is what an intercalation is. This is bringing this scripture to life. That's what this is talking about. That's how it works. Why is there such a thing as leap years? Even on a Gregorian calendar, you have to have some type of a leap year, which is an actual intercalation. A leap year is intercalating a day in the last day of February to intercalate to make the calendar works. In other words, there is no calendar that is perfectly backed by just straight up going by 365 whatever days a year. And when you do 364, what day do you eliminate? There's questions that need to be answered when you're trying to do only a solar calendar. But when you do a lunar and solar calendar, there's a reason why it says change with correct precision, and that the years will be a perfect justice of 364. Because there's only one way to make the numbers match up perfectly. There's only one way to get 364 days. And that's through an intercalation, which lines up perfectly every 3 years. All right. So every calendar has to make a structural change for the numbers to continually to match. That's why the Gregorian calendar has leap years, and all other calendars has some type of intercalation because it's required. The Most High's luminaries are super advanced, and we have to understand how to use them. It isn't some simple count 364 days, because then people are picking and choosing what day not to count. Very big problem, and I'm going to go into detail in a second on why this is so perfect. And I've never disclosed this until now, so let's get it on. Let's get it on. All right, so I'm not going to read all of this. I just wanted to show this verse because many people, if you are on this calendar, you'll get many people telling you not to use the moon because of Jubilee 6. I'm not going to read all of this. I'm going to just read right here. Also, it says, command the children of Yasharel that they observe the years according to this reckoning 364 days. So a lot of people want to say the moon doesn't give 364. Well, that's why I showed you how the moon gives 364. And then scripture tells us, they tell us when you look into Enoch, how to, why the moon has to be intercalated to get 364 days, but it's 364 days at the end of the entirety of 3 years. All right, but right here in verse 36 of chapter 6 of Jubilees, for there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon, how it disturbs the seasons. It comes in from year to year, 10 days too soon. The moon drops back 10 days every year. That's what this is implying. The moon falls back 10 days from the sun every year. And people say not to use the moon because of this, but it clearly tells you why the calendar is off. It's because it disturbs the seasons. This is why it's so important to make sure the first new moon is after the spring equinox. That's all that's implying. And I just wanted to bring that up just for that point to show you that, yeah, it's just put it in context. This is talking about in season. So use it in season. They didn't say do not use the moon in its entirety. Then that will be voiding out the entire book of Enoch. Honestly, don't even understand how people have it. Say they're following the Enoch calendar and then they avoid all the scripture that's talking about the moon. It doesn't even make any sense to me at all, but to each their own. All right, now I'm going to back out and I'm going to show you the full 19-year moon cycle. And it's 19 years because the moon resets every 19 years. Why do you think that how NASA and other internet websites can predict when the full moon will be, when certain signs will be? Because the entire luminaries is on a giant clock that ticks in the same pattern. Every planet or wandering star has the same circuit. When you look it up, I actually had it written down, I don't have it in front of me, but I think Saturn has a 29-year pattern that it goes back to its starting point every 29, I want to say. Uranus has 88-year pattern. Every 88 years, it goes back to its starting point. And the same thing with the sun. The sun does it every 365 days. It goes back to the starting point. And the same thing with the moon. The moon has the same pattern of 19 years. That's why you can track it and people can, foretell what things will be because of that pattern. All right, guys. Whoo! Look at this. Look at this. I put in all of these dates just to show y'all. Let me back out. Okay, let me try to get as close as possible, showing everything a little bit more. Okay. Okay. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. One more try. Okay, we'll stop there. All right. All right. A lot of information. I went so I could see it. And let me say, do not look at the moon times. So these are timings of full moons, but I didn't verify them. I just used them as just a point, a reference point to see if the moon cycles really did repeat. And with the color coding here is to show you that every 19 years, it does. It's perfect. So we have the year 2000. When you count 19 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. After the 19th year, we have it tanned right here, a light brown right here. It's the same. So I got it zoomed out. So now I'm going to zoom in. Now that you see it from afar, I'm going to zoom in. So like I said, do not look at this chart for verification of future full moons. Don't do it. I'm giving you a disclaimer right now. I did not verify that for because it's too much work. This is just showing a pattern. We have this year 2000, count 19, the last year of the cycle, and then let's look at a few of them. March 20th, April 19th, May 18th, June 17th, March 20th, April 18th, May 18th, June 16th. We see that the days could be different by 1 day or so because of leap years of the Gregorian calendar. And another point I'm going to make in a little bit. So we see that the pattern of the moon is exactly that. Let's look at the next year. April 7th, May 7th, June 5th. April 7th, May 7th, June 5th. We see it. It's real. And so with the same idea, look at the intercalations. Well, let me go away from this beginning. So like I said, we see 2 years intercalation, 192. 3 years, middle year intercalation. Someone asked me, was this year intercalation? No, it's actually after 2024. So we won't have to worry about it until after all these dates I give you. So we see that this pattern, and look, the intercalation stays the same. This year had an intercalation, skips 1 year, intercalation, skips 2 years, intercalation, skips 2 years, intercalation. Look at the beginning. The same exact pattern. It's perfect. My point I'm about to show you is when you pair this pattern with the sun, it locks it into a perfect 19-year sequence that every 19 years, you will always get the same exact pattern. Always. This doesn't change. This is a small sample size that goes to eternity. You can keep going. It won't change. All right. So now let me show you the odds. What are the odds of this, family? That the moon has a 19-year pattern that is exactly the same. When I pair it with the sun 19-year sequence, let's see what happens. Oh, this is going to get really cool. This is going to unlock this idea of any other calendar not working. In other words, no other calendar will work this way, the way I'm going to show you. All right, I need to go back to the presentation here. So that is the 19-year moon cycle. We see the intercalations are all in the same year. We see even the full moons are pretty much the same day every year. It is exactly the way he has ordained it. So what is the issue with the 365 days in a quarter? When you time the sun from one position and you start the clock until it gets all the way back to the same exact position, it rounds to 365 days in a quarter of a solar cycle, not a year, a solar cycle, because we know a year is 364 days. But this is the problem when you're trying to only use the sun. What do you do with this extra day and a quarter? What do you do with it? Is it a problem, or is it set up this way perfectly to match up with the moon? We just saw that on a 3-year pattern, that all you have to do is intercalate the moon, and it gives a perfect justice of 1,092 days every 3 years, which divided by 3 is 364. What happens when we do it by 19 with the actual solar cycle? In other words, we're about to go into why the solar cycle is 365 days in a quarter. Bear with me. This could be a lot. Don't worry about it. Just stay with me. Don't read all the extra stuff. I'm taking this information and I'm dumbing it down here. All right. So you can read all of this, but I'm not going to read all of it because a lot of this is just repeating the pattern that the moon gives, that there is 228 months, 235 months every 19 years. So let's just stay down here for now. Like I said, it's a lot of information. I put this here so we don't have to read all of it. I can break it down right here. So an annual solar cycle is 365 days, 0.2422. That's how long it takes from the sun to get from one all the way back to the same position every year. When we times the solar cycle by 19 years, we get 6,939 days. Well, guess what? The average lunar cycle with the intercalations is 29.53 on days. When you times, oh, and then there's a 19-year moon cycle with the intercalations that I showed you, that there's always the same intercalations in the 19 years. There's 235 months. So when we take the days, the average days per lunar month with the total amount of months in 19 years, it gives the same exact days that is the equivalent of the solar cycle of 6,939 days. My point, family, that this is the key to the entire calendar structure. This gives reason why the solar cycle isn't 364 days, because it is this exact math was ordained by our creator so it would match up to reset every 19 years with the moon cycle. This is why the solar cycle and the moon cycle both perfectly reset to the same amount of days every 19 years. It's perfect. That's been a question I've had since last year when I put the original calendar together. Why is there 365 days in, some extra hours every year on a solar cycle when he says there's 364 days in a year? It's because this is to match up with the moon cycle every 19 years, which is the full capacity of the moon cycle until it resets. In other words, the moon and the sun resets every 19 years together, and it only could happen with the exact math that the luminaries and scripture has given us. Woo! That's nuts if you ask me. If y'all want to pause this and read this on your own time, it honestly is kind of saying the same thing that I have said with the full 19-year moon cycle. This is in wording what I just showed you with the 19-year moon cycle. That's what all of this is. Telling you there's 7 intercalation months that is added to the 228, which is how you get 235 and so on. But I mean, man, this is why we have the solar cycle being 365 and a quarter. It is because the true calendar, this is the only way it could be reset with the moon. So yes, I know it can be a lot. It's a lot of math, but go back. You can pause it on the moon cycle and whatnot. It all adds up, and it is a beautiful piece of art. It really is. This is math and luminaries and scripture all coming together. So it's a lot. That's what I'm saying. If you don't get one of those, you won't get the whole thing, because it's 3 in 1. You have to first understand scripture. You have to understand the math. And you have to match up the luminaries, which is the next part that we're getting into. We're going to match up the luminaries and whatnot by the end of this study. All right, let's continue. So in 19 years, the moon cycle equals the sun cycle. And that's the purpose for both cycles, so they can meet at the reset point every 19 years. Like I said, you're not supposed to get it the first time. Study, watch it again, break it down into parts. No, I just showed you 2024 is not a reset. 2024 at the end has an intercalation, but it's not the 19-year reset. There's many intercalations, but I guess technically it depends on when you start, your starting point for the 19 years. Yeah, I guess you really don't know unless you know the beginning of the clock. You would have to go and find out when was which is the starting point all the way at the beginning of creation. So to find the 19-year reset, you would have to know the starting point, which I did not do that math in this study, but there's many intercalations. All right, so here we are. We're finally going to put all of this understanding. The point of all of that is to show you that we can obtain finding the feast days ahead of schedule because of the math given to us with everything else that works together. So before we get into 2023, I got one more chart. This is the biggest chart, believe it or not, family. We thought the moon cycle chart was crazy. Ha! Wait till we get into this one. This is a sample size of the full-blown chart. And so I'm going to use this year as an example. The same things that I've shown you is just going to be on a bigger spreadsheet. So this was 2022, the year that just passed. We had the first, we see New Year's Day, which was April 17th, because the new moon was the evening of the 16th. So what did that mean, family? The evening before means the day after is the new moon festival, which is the New Year's Day, because the new moon was the 16th of April, all right? And then we counted 1, 2, 3. There's our Sabbath, the remainder of the year. We had April 30th, we had Passover at evening, which was also a solar eclipse. Then we had May 1st through 7th was unleavened bread. And then from May 2nd, we counted from that day, being day 1, we counted 50, which landed us on June 20th. And then 177 days later, and the point of this chart is to look over. I have the days counted. The 177th day is coded in pink, and this is October 10th is the 177th day. And this is what I'm going to show you is that the luminaries match up with the count. Every 177 days, there is a full moon. What are the odds? What are the odds? There is no coincidence. Another perfect chained event. Every 177 days, there is a moon, full moon rising. The 16th was a full moon of April, 177 days later. The 10th of October was a full moon. So the full moon of the night of the 10th on our calendar means the 11th, October 11th will be Yom Teruah. And then the count continues from there. 10 days later, we have Day of Atonement. 15 days later, we have Sukkot. 22 days later, we have 8th day. So this is what we're using. I give you the count here. Then we're putting it on top of the calendar over here. And then I'm going to show you the luminaries to match up with it all, which will give us the dates for the next 2 years. All right. So that was this year. So now this was an example to show exactly what I just showed you. This is the count that I use off of timeanddate.com. April 17th to October 10th is 177 days. And look how perfect it is. Full moon, full moon. But I'm going to show you in this study that 99% can be full moons as well. It just depends on what website you go to. So this also is a testament to show you, do not get stuck on using websites to prove these random websites to prove anything, because each website can be different. Because we see right here, a lot of people had October 9th as the new moon because it's a full moon, but not all full moons are new moons. I'll say that again. Not all full moons are new moons. Look at this real quick. We see that there is 2 full moons. And I'm even willing to say that even this month could have been close to having 2 full moons. I want to stop and give clarification to my understanding on this. Why do them? Because I was thinking like, Haya, why did you have to? Why couldn't you just make it so obvious? A 97% full, 97% lit moon, 100% 97. Make it so clear cut, obvious. Which phase is the new moon? But I came to this understanding, and it makes so much sense to me. The days of the moon interchanges from 29 to 30 every month. It could be either or. That's the point. Some years, 1 month can be 29 days and match up to the numbers that we're talking about. And guess what? Why is there 2 full moons? Because depending on the year and the count, this could be a new moon, or the day before could be a new moon. It depends on the count in what year you're in for which full moon is the new moon. That's why there's more than 1 full moon a lot of the time, because it's based off of a sequence of a pattern to pick which full moon. So in other words, if you don't know how to apply scripture with what I'm saying, the numbers, a perfect example is the calendar. I saw another calendar. The only other calendar that honestly that I found online that follows the full moon as the new moon, and they picked October 9th as the new moon because they're not going based off of a count. They were going based off of the internet in percentages. And when you do that, you're pretty much vulnerable to whatever website you're using. And do we really believe that the ancient path is based off of internet statistics of the luminaries? And I'm going to show you that's why there's even different websites that has different times of full moon counts. But why do they have 2 different months having a full moon? You go to some websites, they'll say it was October 9th. Another website will say it's October 10th. Why? Because they're both full moons. That's the point. It depends on the count. It depends on the count and the count, the pattern, and the coordinates of the sun setting at the appropriate time with the moon rising. All of it matters. So, you try to do this on your own, it can get real tough. But that's why I'm showing you all of this, because it takes all of this to build the calendar. Okay, just wanted to throw that out there. This is why there is multiple full moons, because they're both full moons, but there's only 1 new moon. And the only way you know that 1 new moon is if you understand his count, his coordinates with his luminaries. Okay. So once again, we see the 177 days that I was showing you with the visual here. The numbers match up. We see 7 days, we have 7 days. And I even have it lined up for the Gregorian calendar for everyone. I have the first day being Sunday. I have it lined up so the best understanding that I could give. It can't get more straightforward with this chart. I can't. Everything to the left with the numbers that we have gone over in scripture matches everything to the right, and I put it on top. This is what I was saying, the blueprint. I have now taken the blueprint and put it on top of the Gregorian calendar for everybody. And then I even have the numbers to the left to match it up. And so that's what we're going to do. We're matching up the numbers, and we're going to see the numbers will always have the full moon matching with the luminaries because his calendar is perfect. Just like that, it's perfect. And the night of the 10th, that's what I was saying. The evening of the 10th means the day following would be a new moon festival, which is Yom Teruah for the 11th of October. That's going to be on a pop quiz. Do not get it wrong. I'm going to put that out there on one of my stories. If there is a new moon on the 10th of October, when is the new moon festival? Get it right. Let me know that y'all are comprehending this stuff. All right. Oh, there we go. So now we are setting ourselves up, moving with this pattern into next year. So what's the very first day? The very first day to start counting the next 177 days of every half portion of the year would be October 11th. Is day one of the next 177. So we have October 11th counting to April 5th, which is Wednesday being the last day. And that's 177 days. And we see April 5th, and this is what I'm showing you. See, April 5th, they have 199%. And let's be real. If it's 99+%, that means it's a full moon to the naked eye. Let's not get super computer savvy on us right now. Don't get crazy, because if we use another website, look, this is the other website that I gave in the beginning, using two moon phase websites. This one has the 5th of April being a full moon, and this one has the 6th of April being a full moon. And see, 99.7%. That's my point. When you see 99+%, that means that's pretty much means that there's two full moons. Which one is the new moon? Is the question. And we know based off of the count of 177 days. Based off of 177 days, then the night of the 5th has to be the full moon. So it is the 5th and not the 6th, because we have two full moons, the 5th and the 6th coming up this April. Which one is the new moon? We going based off of the count. This is what separates it. Understanding the pattern of his creation is what separates it. Because any given year, let's say 19 years later that I just showed you, this one, based off of the Gregorian calendar and whatnot, this one could be the new moon. That's my point, is that it could be either one based off of the count. But with our count right now, the new moon is the 5th of April coming up, which means what? The 6th will be day one. Okay, I wanted to stop. I wanted to stop here, and I want to go to the chart now. So let's start putting it together with the visual. Big chart, here we go. Big chart. Hold on, waiting for it. All right. All right, so we have the annual feast. This is the first blueprint to the right. We have the full semi-annual 177-day count that puts all the feast days in structure. And then we have it laid, this blueprint with the 177-day count all together on top of the Gregorian calendar. Woo! And I have it starting in April 2022. Let's go from there forward. So I'm going to zoom in to exclude this to the right, because this is just the original blueprint we don't need anymore. We're just going to include, there we go. All right. All right. Super transparent, right? I'm showing y'all exactly how I got it. All right, so this is I already went over year 2022. This is exactly the year we just got done doing. All right, so we move forward. We're going down. We had the 177 days, which was the 10th of October, which means the first count of the next 177 days for next year. To find the first day starts October 11th. I just showed you the math that 177 days. Well, we keep going. We're in February, and that is 354. Guess I could have made it pink. Let's make it pink to match it over here. Boop. Oh, come on. It's loading on me. Oh, goodness. I don't need to do it if it's going to freeze. Oh, my gosh. Come on. Okay. Not going to touch it. I'm not going to edit it. No more. Wait for it to load. I'm not frozen, am I? The live is still good. It's just Excel. Great. Come on, Excel. Don't make me close you out. All right, well, while I'm here, I can still explain. We have okay, there we go. All right. No more editing. That was me being extra. I'm just trying to core. All right, so we had the last day being the 354th day being April 5th, which I just showed you. There is a full moon on April 5th, which means New Year's Day is April 6th, and this is day 1. So 1, 2, Sabbath is the new Sabbath. And like I said, this is in order from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, all the way to Saturday. So this is Saturday. Yuck. We got to deal with everybody that's on Saturday Sabbath thinking that we're on the same page, and we're not. But it's all good. It is what it is. So next year's Sabbath is the first Sabbath. It is April 8th, and it will be Saturday all the way until next Abib. All the way till next Abib. So we're going to have to deal with all the randoms with the Saturday Sabbath stuff. And we're going to have to keep saying, well, technically it's not Saturday. It's just Saturday this year. That's going to get real old. I'm already cringe with it. It is what it is, family. That's the cards we've been dealt. But there is a reason for it. So let's keep our eyes and ears peeled, because there is a reason for it to be Saturday on the year of 2023. No coincidence in that. I honestly feel like because let's think about it. Skull and Bones, 322. I honestly want to say, where did they get the number from? I want to say they got the number from this year, that this year was going to be their year all the way to the day of the Sabbath. I don't feel like there's a coincidence in that. What are the odds? Year 2023. Very big occult number, 223 or 322. This year's the Sabbath is Saturday. I'm just saying. That's what I'm saying. It will always be a blessing. Keeping his Sabbath day on the right appointed time, we will be blessed and covered for it. But for sure, keep our eyes open, ears peeled. It's going to be there's going to be something more with the timing of this. We know this. All right, so now we can count everything else because everything's perfect. I love it. There's no questions to this because everything matches up with the timing of the luminaries with the count. So we count 14 days. That will give us Passover the 19th at evening, with the 20th to the 26th of April being unleavened bread. We count 50 days from the 21st of April. It will give us Shavuot on the 9th, and I will show you that count in a second. And I'm going to show you the count. I have all these counts on the slides to verify all this information. But we also have the counts to the left. I just, just showing extra verification. So we remember we have, so I don't have to go back and forth. We have the 21st to the 9th being 50 days. So June 9th will be Shavuot. And then we're counting 177 days from the 5th of April, which we see here. We have the 177th day mark highlighted in pink. So that means we need to have a full moon. There has to be a full moon on September 29th for this calendar to be correct. All right, so let's go to that real quick. Let's go back. Let's check all our counts. So this is saying September 29th is the 177th day, and there needs to be a full moon here. September 29th, and we're going to verify the 50-day count from April 21st to June 9th. Let's do that real quick. All right, so we have 177 days. Oh, yes, the first day is the 6th. I was thinking the 5th. The 5th is the full moon. So the first day is the 6th to September 29th is 177 days. And I already went over right here. So this was the 5th before to give us the first day of the 6th. And then voila, September 29th is a full moon. So check this out, family. I want to point out why it's such a big deal to get the count right, because we see that the next day is obviously waning. September 30th is obviously waning. So check this out. If you would have started on April 6th and counted 177 days, guess what? Your Yom Teruah would have been on a waning moon and not a full moon. Do we see that? How important that is? That's why it's so important. If you pick the wrong new moon to start the year, then the Yom Teruah, the moon of Yom Teruah being on the 177th day wouldn't have been a full moon. Very important detail here, family. Very important. Your whole calendar would have been janky. So we see the verification here that the September 29th is a full moon. All glory to the Most High, just like he said it was going to be. And then we have April 21st to June 9th being 50 days, confirming that. Where's it at? Here we go, April 21st to the 9th, 50 days. And we had the 6th confirmed to the 29th of September, being a full moon in 177 days. Everything's perfect using everything we have. I think that's, let me see. Do I just go over what I got? Okay, so that was, so in all, this is your 2023 feast days. We have the first day, which is a new moon festival. April 6th, the Sabbath, the first Sabbath coming in on the, so this is the, April 8th is the first Saturday Sabbath. If you start your Saturday Sabbath before then, you're wrong. It is Tuesday until April 8th. And then we have the evening of April 19th of Passover, going right into the 20th through the 26th of unleavened bread. We have June 9th being Shavuot, aka Pentecost. Yom Teruah being September 30th, because we saw September 29th is the sign of the full moon. Sunrise, April September 30th is Yom Teruah. Day of Atonement being evening of October to the evening of October 8th to 9th. Sukkot from October 14th to the 20th, and the 8th day being October 21st. Super duper confirmed and very confident. I double checked it. Please double check me when you get the time, but all the numbers match up with the luminaries and scripture. All glory to the Most High. So this is confirmation of your 2023 feast days. So now, very easy. We're just going to apply the same information and move forward with 2024. I said, why not? I have the world ending in 2024. Let me provide the information so we all can be aligned with his calendar. And you won't need me no more. The Most High was like, Rob, just give them the answers. Doesn't mean you shouldn't strive for understanding to how I got the answers, which is the whole point of the video. But here y'all go. Here you go. Too easy. The only thing you have to look out for now is the 4th and the 10th new moon festivals. That's it. The 4th and the 10th new moon festivals. Everything else is right here, all the way to 2024. All right. Now let's move on with 2024 feast days. The same thing here. We have a 99 moon on one moon app. March 24th, because let's go back to the chart real quick. We start the count based off of the last day of 177 days was the 29th of September. So day 1 will be September 30th. So we count 177 days again from Yom Teruah. And will there be a full moon? You bet your bottom dollar. We count all the way through the same exact thing. And that means, I'm going to try to do it. Yeah, okay. That means March 24th will be the 177th day. So that needs to have a full moon there. All right, let me get back to it. Come on, help me out. So March 24th needs to have a full moon. And voila. Once again, we have it being 99, which I already said, if it's 99 plus, that means it's a full moon to the naked eye. And once we begin, this is what I was stressing about. Is we have multiple 99 plus. It's really hard to pick from that observation, right? But we have both. That's 99.7. That's a full moon. It just depends on what website you go to. These websites just pick and choose which one's going to be their full moon, but there's only one new moon. And March 24th is the 99 plus new moon. That's a full moon, but new moon, because there's 2 full moons in this month. So we go by the count. And there we go. And so we go. So this is just the count showing now that if you watched the second Exodus, we see September 17th is a very big day. The day before Yom Teruah, there's a sign in the heavens. It's the end of his count. This is the day that's at least scripturally predicted to be this is the rapture. Let me stop. That's a whole other video. But just showing the counts, 177 days. So that means September 18th would be Yom Teruah, because we go by the count and all of them are 99 plus. And then also, this is just showing once again, if you go to a different website for September 17th, we see 99 here, but 17th on this website has it as a full moon. So that's my point. 99+% is a full moon. It's just, the question is it a new moon based off of his count? And then we have the 9th to the 28th being 50 days. So let's just do a quick verification. We have the 9th being the second day, first fruits, to the 28th, Shavuot. We have the count, 14 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 at evening, Passover. Then we go into unleavened bread. Then we have the count from the second day, confirmed. And then we already did the math, the 25th, all the way to the 17th. There is a new moon there, which will give us September 18th to be Yom Teruah. Then 10 days from there, we have, this is the 10th day, but Day of Atonement is going to be evening of the 26th to evening of the 27th. And the 2nd through the 8th, and then the 9th on the 22nd day of the 9th month, of the 7th month. So we go back. There we go. We just verified all these dates, made them all make sense with the luminaries in scripture and the count. And this is your 2024 feast days. The first day of the year, which is a new moon festival, is March 25th. Then we have 3 days. We line up the Sabbath day on the third day of the year, which will be on a Wednesday. Wednesday will be a 2024 Sabbath starting March 27th. Passover, evening of April 7th, then 8th to the 14th on unleavened bread, May 28th, Shavuot. Trumpets, September 18th, Day of Atonement, evening of 26th to the 27th, Sukkot, the 2nd to the 8th, and the 8th day, October 9th. And this is the conclusion of this study. Make sure, follow me on all platforms just in case something happens. And if this study bless you and you are able to support the time and effort, because this takes a lot of time and effort. And so I can still support my household and support the fellowship. Please donate, Cash App, Become Set Apart, or PayPal. But bless each and every one of you. Pray for me for guidance so I can help guide others. I thank y'all for joining me on this study. And I pray that it was a blessing to each and every one of you. Shabbat Shalom, Yasharallah once again.